Okay, it's 11 o'clock and we start and end on time. I'm Greg Flanagan here with Power Onward Coaching, Consulting, and Masterminds. Today we're talking about conversations in tough markets. Who am I? I've been in the market for about 14, 15 years. Top producer, presently on a team, working with a team, and that is about supporting that team and starting this consulting business of mine. So let's get right into it. Conversations in tough markets. As we all know, the market has changed over the last 6 weeks. And one of the things that we talked about last week was, who do I want to be during the COVID-19 crisis? And there's three zones: the fear, the learning, and the growth. And today I was going to focus on, I think of others and see how to help them. We've gone through the fear group. I grab food, toilet paper. Everybody's in a, oh my goodness, it's going to crash. The sky is falling, right? I start to give up what I can't control. Then we start getting into the learning, curve of this. What do we need to do in order to go forward with life? We're starting to learn. We got our basic necessities. We've got those handled. We stopped complaining. We start identifying emotions, started identifying feelings. We stop acting compulsively. We start taking purposeful forward growth. That's where we are right now, in the growth zone. I think of others and see how to help them. And that's what today's about. We're talking about conversations and how they're going to help us, identify people that are in need while we're solving their problems. And it all comes down to conversations. As long as real estate's been around, the person who owns the listing, right? There's a little saying out there, it's called list to last. And the person that owns the listing owns the real estate market. Think about it. If you owned 100% of the real estate listings in any one market, everyone would need to come to you to get a property purchased, correct? Think about that. If you're a buyer side, then you're hoping that the person purchases another property that someone else has listed. So in our business, the focus should be on, the training, the education, and the execution should be on getting listings. It's all about the listings. Why are listings the most important thing out there? Because less time servicing the property. Buyers on average take about 50 hours. Where sellers on average take about 8 hours. And the majority of those 8 hours are normally prospecting for those sellers. Once you have a seller, it's quite easy to maintain them. You should have systems in place to market their properties. So the time difference. And why is that important? Because buyers and sellers, time and money conversion, and the conversations that around there, let's say the average deal is $7,500 per deal. Buyers, with the 50 hours that it takes to get them, consult them, shop them, close them, repair, all the nonsense that goes along with buyers, you're going to make about 150 hours, $150 per hour, which is great. And that's gross pay. Obviously, you're not paying anybody yet. With a seller, that same commission of $7,500, you're going to be making $937 an hour. Of course, you got to pay Uncle Sam, and you got to leverage that up a little bit to cut your hours down, but there's a big difference between buyers and sellers. And that's why we focus on sellers. Buyers bring us immediate money if there's something out there to purchase. Sellers bring us continuous money and much easier job. So listings are the greatest time multiplier in real estate. What do we mean about that? Once you have a listing, you can go find more listings. It multiplies your time. It sits there and it brings in buyers. The only thing you have to answer are the questions as they come in from the buyers. So focus on helping property owners solve the problem. That's one of the most important things you can do out there. And we're going to get into that with the conversations today. These are the basics, what we look at when we're looking at sellers, not so much buyers. List to last. Listings are the greatest time multiplier in real estate. One agent can manage 20 to 40 listings with a little bit of leverage. Whereas one agent can only juggle about 5 to 10 buyers at a time. If you're real good, think about it. If you had 10 buyers that wanted to see a property today, you had 5 buyers that wanted to see properties, could you handle that? You'd need a couple extra people to help you. Whereas a listing, you could take five questions, an hour on 5 different listings, and still have all the time in the world at the end of the day. So this is why we stick with the listings and why I focus on listings. So focus on helping property owners solve the problem. It's about them, not you. This is very, very important. A lot of the presentations I see out there are geared towards, hey, we're the best in the business. Folks, I'll tell you what, there's not much in the business that everybody should have anyway. You should be on the MLS. You should be doing social media. At this time, now you should be having virtual tours, excuse me. Right? This is about solving the owner's problem. What's their problem? Is it a death? And you know, these are not problems. They could be pains. They could be, you know, anything you want to call them. The problems, it could be death. It could be retirement. It could be babies. It could be divorces. It could be anything out there that's making them want to move. So this is not about you. It's not about how big you can pound your chest. It's about them and solving their problem. Be their guide. Don't be the hero. This is important. Be their guide. Give them the information they need. Give them the resources they need to make the decisions that we know if the decisions will be. Just be their guide to get there. Let them be the heroes. And that's what makes a great experience when you're selling real estate. Let them be the heroes. Make the process barrier-free. What do I mean by that? Don't throw up roadblocks. Don't throw up every problem that you and I both know we're going to have down the road, but we both know also that it's very easily managed. The listing agent, the lister, the seller, and the buyer don't need to know every move that we make. Okay, this is something that new agents and even some senior agents, when they drag people into the minutia, when they drag people into the back office, he said, she said, send this email to them, send it. They don't need that. What they need is a guide. Okay, so be that guide. Be that person that, you know, puts them in the right path. Explain the process to them. Explain the pricing to them. Let them make the choices that they need to make. That's making them the hero. You have 3, you know, when I do a presentation, I make sure there's 3 choices they can do. Are they all within $10,000 or $15,000? Of course they are, because I am managing the client. So be the guide, not the hero. Make the process barrier-free. The 3 L's of real estate, just for a refresher: leads. We talked about them last week. We talk about them all the time because they're most important. Listings and leverage. We're going to go with conversations today around listings and how to get them. These are the 3 things you need. Make sure you have enough leads coming through. How do you do that? You prospect, you market, you buy a couple of leads, you get your listings. What do you do with your listings? How do you make the best amount of your time? And that is through leveraging, whether it's a transaction coordinator, whether it's a runner to put signs out. It's all about leverage. The more time that you have to answer buyer side questions, the more listings you'll have out there. So conversations. Any questions? Who we got on here? Okay. So spend purposeful time prospecting, P to P. Entrepreneurial to purposeful. This goes back to your 6 personal perspectives. When you're calling people, have a normal conversation. Hi, this is Greg. How you been? This is not about shutting somebody down, putting them in a corner, and closing them right off the bat. This is about putting them at ease. Care, concern, compassion. And focus on so identify your group. Focus on a small subset of people that you know that you're in the same neighborhood, that their likes, their interests, their common ground, similar situation in life, moms, dads, pets, activities, kids, anything that binds the 2 of you together, okay? That you say, hey, I really like this person, and I can talk common ground. Now, you got to work your plan. And as far as working your plan, what is your plan? That's for you to decide. You've got a time block, right? Going back to the 80-20 rule. You've got a time block. You've got to have a certain time. Make sure your desk is out there. Make sure you set your workplace up. Make sure you set your daily time when you're going to do it. Right now, we're finding later in the afternoon is working after people have done schooling their kids and taking care of lunch. And have your call list prepared the night before. So set yourself up for success and have it done the night before. I want you to make a minimum of 10 real estate conversations a day. It's not a lot of real estate conversations. 10 real estate conversations at an average cost of, at an average sale price of $288,000 is $2.8 million worth of business this year, which would equate to about $90,000, $95,000 in revenue. Pay Uncle Sam, that's $60,000 a year, and you've got a $60,000. Pay Uncle Sam, that's 30%. You've got $60,000 left over for yourself. That's pretty easy to do. 10 real estate conversations. Where are you going to get them? You're going to get them out of your database. Again, talking to people. So if you have 10 real estate conversations a day, you are going to sell 10 houses a year. All right, throw away all the projections, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And 10 are going to come from here, 10 are going to come from there. This is a bottom line. It's a hint. It's something that I found years ago. The number of real estate conversations you will have each day will be the number of houses you will sell during the next 12 months. It's true. If you're having 30 conversations a day, you will sell 30 houses this year. Okay? You will sell 30 houses this year. So make sure you track your conversations. If you only had 8, think about it. You're only going to have 8 closings. If you've had 1 conversation, you will have 1 closing this year. It's just the way it works out. Conversations, listen for the buying signals. Listen for the complaint, listen for the pain. Kids have no place to go. The yard's not big enough. So we're in this conversation, we're having this conversation, and it starts out with, "Hi, Martha, how you doing? Good. What are you thinking about all these kids being home? Oh my God, they're driving me nuts. They got no place to go. The yard's too small. The house is too small. I thought we had enough room with the frog upstairs, but that's where Jack's working right now. And the kids are like right on top of me, and I'm trying to get my stuff done. And then there's lunch, and there's somebody, Martha, how can we help you? What can we do to get you a bigger house? Do you need a bigger house? Have you ever thought about a bigger house? What does that look like next year if this happens to go on next year?" And don't fool yourself. This may go on next year again. They're saying it may come back in November, that we have to regulate ourselves. That we have to go back inside. A lot of people are going to, what are they going to do? They're going to look for bigger houses or houses with an office space, or, so get into them and have that conversation with always focusing on the appointment. Always has to be the appointment. So listen for these buying signals. Listen for the complaint, the pain. What's mom's complaint? What's mom's pain? Her kitchen isn't big enough to do the kids. She has no place for herself. There's no screened porch that she can sit on. Listen, okay? All of these open a door to, open the door to a real estate conversation. Have those conversations. Probe deeper, okay? Ask great questions. Ask the great questions. How are the kids handling it? What are some of your challenges? Stop and listen to her. Stop and listen to her. What's your focus here? Your focus is on getting an appointment. Maybe not today, but maybe when they shut down. So the conversation goes something like this. "So Martha, I hear you, man. So would you be better off with an office space for Jack in your next house? Oh, that would be lovely. Well, listen, is that something you want to do now, or you want to wait till after the kids are back to school or after after the coronavirus, subsides a little bit? Well, we'd probably do it sooner than later. So what is sooner? Is sooner like 30 days, or you want to talk to Jack first? Let me talk to Jack first. Okay, why don't I get back to you in next week and see what we can put together? Maybe we'll meet the week after. Is that good for you? Yes, it is. So now you've got her down a path thinking about real estate and moving, right? Which is great, because now you have a buyer and you have a seller. You just picked up 2 deals, 1 conversation. What makes you want to move? What makes you want to, get a bigger house, get a smaller house, move to Florida, move to New York? Who, what, where, when questions, no why questions. We covered that last week. Why questions are often perceived as questioning our motives and derogatory and attacking. Why are you doing that? Why are you going to go there? Why are you going to, whoa, wait a second, I don't want to talk. So keep it with the who, what, where, and when. Alternative methods. What can we do to prospect business during these times? We're just going to run through these real quick. Identify ways to help others. Knocking on doors, getting groceries. Be available to those who need my talents. What are your talents? What is something I do? Do you needlepoint? Do you build things? Can you repair something? Think about what your talents are to get yourself in the door for a conversation about real estate. Live in the present, focus on the future. Don't go back the way it was, the way it was, the way it was. Don't go into the pity pool. Be forward thinking. Be empathetic with yourself and others. We're all in this together. You know what? People have survived pandemics years ago, right? For years they've survived pandemics, bombings. Great thing out there by Queen Elizabeth. Look it up on YouTube, her annual speech. She was a young girl in 1940 during the bombing of England. Be grateful, thank others, no matter who they are, whatever service industry they're in, thank others. Stay happy, bring hope, be adaptive in all things, embrace change, practice I call them savers, but they're quietude, relationships, patience, and creativity. Biggest thing here is focus on your goal. Your goal is to get an appointment, whether it's now or after they reopen the world. Get a nurture, someone who's expressed an interest of moving forward. Get answers to your LP Mama questions and track these things. So if you're talking to Marge today or Martha or Betty or Joe, get these questions answered. Then go write them down in your database. Joe said that he'd love to live in Park West. Joe said that he could afford about $300,000. Joe's motivation is they need another room. Joe doesn't have an agent. Joe has to sell his house before he buys a new one. And the only thing left is, I'm going to talk to Joe next week to set an appointment so that I can sit down and at least show him what we have to offer. How to stay focused while conversing, visual reminders. Okay, put it up on your wall, big letters, appointments, engage more people. Exposure leads to composure. All right. Just to go over real quick, the 4 pillars of lead generation. Database, online, farm, and FSBO expireds. These are always here if you need them. And okay, any ahas or questions? Sarah, it's me and you. What do you got?
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, good.
You there? Sarah? Hello, Sarah.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Now.
Okay. I was going to say, the LP Mama, I'd like to get that down so that it's very smooth. And also understanding what I don't understand or haven't had the exposure is just on any conversation. I talked to 14 people yesterday. Um, 3 of them were, I guess 4 of them were, tangentially interested, but nothing remotely close.
So tell me what the conversation was.
Well, this is a guy that I went back through and got names of people that I'd met at open houses that were in my book. And this one guy's in California. He owns a house on West Sandcroft, 1740 West Sandcroft. It's rented. I asked him about who did the property management. He said his best friend lives in there now, and he just, as long as his best friend is in there, he's just going to keep it like it is. And if the best friend decides to move out, he would have, and he might consider.
So what's his motivation?
There isn't any right now. The motivate because his friend is in there.
So what do you do with that? What do you do with that person?
I'm going to put him in my database and just let him know I'm out there.
Exactly.
And talk to him every quarter and say how.
Yeah, I would just stay in touch with them. So, and then forget about them. Actually, every quarter is
too much. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I would put him on a 36 touch and talk to him once every 6 months.
Well, the 36 touch requires that I have a newsletter in place and all that kind of stuff, which I do not. And I have a way to communicate with my database, which I do not. Those are the 2 things that have to happen.
And what's stopping you from communicating with your database or putting your database in command?
The database is in command, but you can't communicate with your database out of command unless you develop a specific email within their design program. And then if you want to send that out, you can only send it out in bundles of 50, and you have to manually do it in bundles of 50.
And what's stopping you from manually doing that in bundles of 50?
Because I have to take the time to create and learn how to create an email, newsletter or an email out of command. And
if you could find a person that would create that email for you or create that newsletter for you every month for $50 a month, would that be of value to you?
I would certainly think so. Right now, I've got a virtual assistant.
Good question. Would that be of value to you?
Yes. Yeah. I think so. I'm running out of money though.
Okay.
I think if I spent time with Krista to learn how to do it myself, but I've got 2,600 people in the database. So sending it to everyone is not a small task.